and restoring economic stability. And specifically hinging this on, the 2025 budget that has been tagged budget of restoration. So, in his New Year message, President Tinubu acknowledged the challenges faced by Nigerians in 2024 and expressed confidence that 2025 will bring brighter days. He also highlighted positive economic growth indicators such as lower fuel prices, rising foreign reserves, and a stronger naira. Tinubu also pledged to reduce inflation from 34.6% to 15% through reforms aimed at boosting food production and encouraging local manufacturing of drugs and medical supplies. Additionally, he announced plans to establish a national credit guarantee company to expand risk-sharing instruments for financial institutions and enterprises. All right, so it is no longer news that Nigeria actually has a history of economic, instability, with previous governments implementing various reforms to address, these challenges. To start a conversation, Dr. Yusuf Aliyu, what lessons can be learned, from, the past year?
The first lesson to be learned from 2024 is that we should learn to have resilience as far as economic issues are concerned, because fundamentally one good thing which I always emphasize when speaking about economics is positivity. Mm-hmm. You have to be optimistic right, rather than being pessimistic. Mm-hmm. President has shown that he has learned that Nigerians suffer from the economic reforms, which has reduced the purchasing powers of many individuals' households, and which has put them to a very serious condition. These conditions are not acceptable in an economy that is progressing. It's not acceptable in an economy that is recording growth in foreign exchange, growth in the economy. So what is more important is to share the growth with the total number of citizens. That is why collective prosperity is always identified for a nation to succeed in with all economic policy measures. Another big lesson which we learned in 2024 is the fact that using orthodox monetary policies is not in any way in conformity with the domestic economy in tackling inflation. This must be carefully identified, because in a situation where you are trying to curb excess liquidity in an economy, and then a report coming from the Bureau of Statistics that a total number of 2 trillion naira was paid, and this payment of ransom 2.2 trillion is a heavy liquidity which you cannot use any monetary tool to bring them back into the banking vault. So now if you take from the central bank 4.8 trillion liquidity, and you now subtract 2.2 liquidity paid as ransom, nobody pays ransom through banks. It's cash.
Really?
So that shows that we need an orthodox approach to track these excesses, so that this liquidity will not be flushing out of the vaults of the banks, so that whatever monetary policy measure in terms of bringing stability to general price is concerned. So and another vital issue, Omofe, which in 2024 we have to learn, is that we have to learn from the budget cycle, the budget performance. There is need for government to carefully strategize the implementations of our executive bills as far as budget is concerned. Two issues are there. One, we have to understand that the IGR generated is not generated to service debt.
Okay.
It is generated to impact critical infrastructures. Like I always say when speaking about tax that has been generated by the government, that a good principle of taxation either coming directly from the company income tax, or coming from the payee, or coming from value added tax. It has the principle of quid pro quo, that is returns benefit. The payers of those taxes are expecting those taxes to come back to them, and to come down to them, and then service their critical need. And this critical need is what is always deficient in our appropriations from the federal to the state. And what the lesson which I want to emphasize is, now the size of deficit must be reducing, because collectively as Nigerians we have paid prices of PMS without subsidy, and we are expecting our payment to still go back to the finance ministry so that it can be recycled in critical infrastructures, so that we can attain the United Nations standard by attending to our health care, by attending to educational pursuit, and also by looking at other human needs, that is food provision.
Right.
Like I said, what we learned also in 2024, which most Nigerians are silent about, is that the waivers, the import waivers granted by Mr. President, has not yielded result. So if that waiver still exists, there are food gaps. Now there exists a serious gap in terms of food production, food supply, and then pricing. The simple fact to understand is that if you are to study your local market, you think that food exists. Take a household survey. The general household survey conducted by the Bureau of Statistics has revealed many inferences where you find people who are producers are no longer producing. People, because of banditry, has changed location. These are some of the things that must be guiding policymakers. And again, Omoife, it is wrong for all of us Nigerians, politicians, analysts, to believe that we have enough food in Nigeria. We don't have. And you take this simple scenario. Out of 100% of arable land, up to now, we have not accessed up to 10%.
Why is that?
Check locations everywhere. Look at the size of Nigeria. Look at the size of kilometer coverage in Nigeria, and look at the farmlands that are scattered. And look at the forests. And look at the size. Go to Sokoto. Go to Niger State. Go to Alot Maiduguri. You see fallow land. Nothing is going on. So and this emphasis is on arable land, not the size of the country.
Size.
Do you understand?
Right.
So the arable lands probably cannot be accessed. You have arable land, but it is covered. It is the network water has covered. You have arable land, forest has covered it.
Okay.
So these are some of the things. But the availability of the land that we are using either as crop or as other agricultural engagement is not enough to have enough food supply. That is at the present. Second, if you check the report conducted by international organization, that Global Food Security Index has shown that it's a research conducted in 133 countries. Out of this, there is a ranking procedure. The ranking procedure in this survey, one is that availability of the food is the first consideration. The second factor is the affordability. The third factor is quality and safety. So by this global survey, no African country has made between number 1 and number 50. No African country. That shows that we are not secured.
Progress.
No, we are not making progress. If the survey conducted and 133 nations are involved in the survey. And in Africa, there is no single country that made it from number 1 to number 50. We are below 50.
Okay, so at this point in time, Nigeria can actually be excused for this gap.
No. How?
I mean, because you said from number 1 to 50, no African country was actually found there.
That is not the criteria. Let me just, I am emphasizing, Omofe, that some of us that believes that we are secured in terms of food availability, in terms of food affordability, in terms of food quality and safety is wrong.
But do you really think we don't have enough food? Do you think that is the case, or we have enough food but it is being hoarded, so it is not just affordable at all?
Omofe,
Right.
Even before today, the metric tons requirement of 200 million population on daily basis, we have not met that pegging system. Even before now, we augment our food reserves by import. Even bigger nations that are bigger in technology, bigger in production method, bigger in capacity
And size.
do you understand? Resolve to have good food security by producing what they eat and then importing.
Really?
Yes, go and check the statistics. Whoever that is following me, stop following me, go to Mr. Google who is the largest producer of rice on planet. The Google will tell you. And then Google will also tell you who is the largest importer of rice. Google will tell you. But what Google will tell you is that China is the largest producer of rice and China is the largest importer of rice.
How do you juxtapose this?
No, in food security, you
must strike a balance. You produce and you import as
not merely because you cannot have the monopoly of producing all types of food.
Right. Okay.
Are you getting it?
Okay.
You can have the monopoly to produce guinea corn. You may not have the monopoly to produce maize. You may have the monopoly to produce rice. China and India produce 50% of total rice production in the world.
Well, there is really so much, a lot to learn from, the previous year, 2024.
Yeah.
But this is 2025.
Yeah.
And the president is really optimistic.
Yes.
That, the reforms, will start picking up in no distant time. And in the coming weeks and months, Nigerians, will smile, or they will start smiling. All right. Then, and by extension, the both of us right here in the studios, because I really look forward to seeing you smile.
Yeah.
All right. But now Nigerians, some of them are not really confident, in these things that the president actually reeled out in the course of his New Year message or speech. You talk about economic reforms now, for example.
Yeah.
What economic reforms, will President Tinubu implement? We are looking at the short term now.
Yeah.
Just to kind of alleviate the sufferings that Nigerians have been faced with. What specific economic policy or reforms, would you suggest the president implement to address, Nigeria's economic challenges in the short term?
In the short term, energy. And that is why Mr. President has emphasized a lot of interventions. Because without energy, an economy can collapse in 24 hours. With energy, an economy can pick up in 30 days. Businesses will come back. Investment will flow. So what is more critical and has been challenging Nigeria is power. Look at the power outages. That occurred last year. We should learn a lesson that all these reforms are critical to development. I loved how Mr. President presented many economic measures in his New Year speech. And I hope he will stick to it, because he has covered almost everything that the economy is looking to have. Credit guarantee is required, and by credit guarantee we're expecting CBN to recapitalize commercial banks so that we have a sound financial system for investors coming in and for domestic investors and for also upcoming investors.
No, but will that not be exacerbated, especially when the CBN, on the other hand, decides to hike interest rates?
That is what I have been harboring for a very long period of time, and that is what I'm telling you, that from the survey conducted by MBS showing 2.2 trillion is being paid as ransom, and we know that kind of payment is not bank payment, it is cash payment. It shows that whatever liquidity control you want to use MPR to control the liquidity, you cannot succeed, because the cash with the bandits, with the ransom takers, let me put it that way.
Okay.
Ransom takers is up to 2.2 trillion in 2024.
In 1 year.
In 1 year. So this is so glaring that Nigeria is not a cash-based economy, because if CBN will now pronounce over 4.6 trillion is in circulation, and you are trying to use MPR, CRR to control the movement of this liquidity into the economy so that you can stabilize prices, it's not going to produce the result that it is expected. And we have argued that in the background. The first lesson which I told you that we have to learn from 2024 is that use of MPR alone will not bring inflation down, because as at January, inflation was not 30%, but we closed the year, inflation was 34.6%.
That's right.
Sorry.
Before we talk about the inflation, reduction, you talked about energy. In the short term, energy can actually bring about major changes.
Yes.
Energy is quite expensive, as we'll be made to understand. And the deficit that we are actually faced with in the country is not orchestrated by poor policies alone. You also take a look at the human factor. We've seen cases of vandalism, here and there in the country. How would you speak to that?
The budget 2025, as presented by Mr. President to the National Assembly, over 5 trillion is going for security. We are expecting security agencies to pay back that investment to the economy, because, like I normally used to give an example, anytime you are talking about allocation of resources under production possibility boundary or production possibility frontier, it's just showing the inverse relationship of either putting your own revenues for security, or you put it for the purchase of butter for the citizens. So if large chunk is going for security, then much is expected from the security angle. And the energy sector, we were told that TCN, all these electricity generating gencos are generating but cannot distribute, because the generation before today, we are exporting it to neighboring countries.
Right.
Today we are not exporting that one, and the generation is still generated. Therefore, what we need is efficiency. The first thing to be done with security is to provide a quick intervention to allow energy to be generated, to allow energy to be transported and then distributed. If we can have that one steady, then definitely Abia is a good example. Abia is thriving because the leadership in that state has made an internal arrangement of generating electricity, and today they are celebrating Abia without blackout. These are some of the interventions that I think if governors of all states can put an arrangement. If Niger Republic, after being cut off from Nigeria, will now be generating electricity without blackout in less than 2 years. So I see why we cannot do that.
But it appears, whilst giving kudos to Abia State, we should also be realistic in terms of, the challenges faced by other states in the country. Because I know we've had this conversation regarding states, being able to generate and also distribute power, within the ambit of, their domain. But how realistic is that for some states that are struggling with other issues?
Those states that are struggling with other issues, they are struggling with their priorities. No state that doesn't have priority. It depends on your priority.
But power is actually a priority.
It depends on you.
Okay.
And that's why you say every individual is faced with a different commitment. And every government at any level also is faced with its own commitment. But it depends on how you allocate your resources, and you maximally monitor the resources for efficiency, for effectiveness, for you to have development and growth.
Okay.
Definitely, like we are saying, cogent issue. Mr. President has engaged seamen in terms of generation of electricity. It's a good initiative. And we are hoping this year that same seamen will now bring their expertise and then bring in capital, and then and then we are expecting state to collaborate.
Well, that's only possible if there will be close monitoring and, you know, proper evaluation.
No, the right people must be there. Good engineers with good heart, with good patriotism.
Okay.
That can work day and night, 24/7.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the president also spoke to reducing inflation, and then reducing inflation from 34.6, approximately 35%, to 15%.
There is no any dramatic economic policy that will bring that inflation from 34.6 to 15% in the next 6 months. Yes. One is that Nigeria is an agri-based society. It's harvesting period. Before we go back to farm and bring out farm produce, we need nothing less than 100 days of intervention. And we don't know the provision that is made to reduce the cost of input, because the highest inflation experienced in Nigeria is food inflation. How can you cost of production from the method used? If you use capital intensive, where you have big equipment and machines, and you have better agricultural seedling system and others, the prices are high.
You know, looking at the budget for 2025, all right, we understand, I mean, based on allocation, that the agri sector will be getting 2%. Is that a pointer to the fact that the government of a day is indeed not intentional about the agricultural sector, or it is not intentional, you know, with this crusade of reducing inflation in the country?
I have said it in the beginning. Once you are faced with the production possibility frontier and you take the resources to the security, it means you have to secure the production line first, and all investment is going there. And that is why you will not have bumper production that will bring prices down, because there is no direct investment in the input which will reduce price. Whatever input price, fertilizer at 40,000 MPK, that's potassium, MPK at 40,000 naira, and you are expecting a farmer to buy for 1 hectare to use 50 kilogram at 40,000, and this is the only thing, minus labor, minus transport, minus other agricultural commitment.
But Dr. Usually, sorry to botch you. I think some 2 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, we were meant to understand that some of these inputs were actually subsidized for farmers to get easy access, right? By the end of the day, the monies recovered or generated from these inputs that were subsidized, you know, for these farmers were not remitted.
So there are a lot of multifaceted loopholes that is affecting the success of any agricultural intervention by the government, either through institutions like the central bank, which is not which has yielded bad results for the economy, for the bank, and other intervention from the Ministry of Agriculture. But what is more important is we are speaking on what is the magic that will bring inflation from 34.6 to 15%. And I'm telling you, realistically, if you look at all the factors associated to production, at least the agricultural produce in Nigeria, you cannot achieve that in the next 6 months. And if you cannot achieve in the next 6 months, we will be consuming. Now it's a consuming period. Whatever surplus that we have, even farmers that are taking advantage of having been to the farm and then keeping part of what they produce to eat, will exhaust them. And if there is no replacement, prices will be going high, because the principle of demand and supply has a lot of things. elasticity of demand. It's elasticity of demand and elasticity of supply is a degree of responsiveness linked to either the limited supply of A will attract B to go up, and then these are some of the things that have inverse relationship.
So when it comes to reducing inflation from 34.6% to 15%, you are saying that
it's not realistic. It's not realistic. It's not realistic.
So by implication, the days ahead are going to be gloomy.
It's already gloomy, because if an onion is costing 500 naira today, are you getting it? What magic are you importing?
But wasn't that because of the yield tide that, you know?
No, a lot of farmers who are producing this good, do you understand, are pushed out of their farmland by the Lakurawas, by the Boko Harams.
Okay.
That is one factor. Second factor, depreciation of our currency has made them to transport this good outside Nigeria, and they are making more money. Yam is exported. A lot of goods that we produce, because we supply not only West Africa, we supply linked to Central Africa. Our goods reach there.
Okay.
Do you understand? So, but what I am emphasizing here is, let us not just look at figures and then make judgment about figures. Let us use economic sense from the household and the market and the production zones. And that is why I'm giving you an example that inflation in Nigeria for over 10 years, agric produce is attracting highest inflation, which means that there are things that are not well supplied.
All right, we're due for a commercial break, but before we embark on that break, a yes or no response we do now, Dr. Usually you.
Yeah.
Will it be intelligent to say or to even think that the president is ill-informed in terms of, you know, getting maybe good experts, you know, advice or suggestions, especially when reeling out some of these policies to Nigerians?
No, it's not. It's not that he is ill-informed. How government works.
Okay, he's not ill-informed. But the political will is not there.
No, not political will. What is bringing all this abnormality is a situation where you assume that you can use instruments that are used, policies that are used in other economies, and you apply to your own. As a lady, women differently located are using different creams for their own skin. So therefore, if you notice this is not good for me, you remove it and then change to it. The same thing applies to an economy. Monetary policy rate, if it's working in the United States where nobody is stealing from the treasury, it can work.
Okay, so people are stealing from the treasury here.
How did we see former CBN governor having 700?
Okay, I just let you hold your thoughts. Yes, let's go pay some bills. When we come back, the conversation will continue, and we see clearly that the studio line or lines have been buzzing, and you're probably itching to share your 2 cents. But hold your thoughts. We'll be back in a bit. Do join us again.
Eagles 102.3 Abuja.
My country people, who work suppose enjoy you after all the hustle. You not supposed take your comfort play to fit sleep the way you supposed be. Make you go grab a yo-yo Eurofoam mattress. Make you forget your full comfort. Whether na Euro Spring, Euro Orthopedic, abi semi-orthopedic, Diamond and Diamond Plus. And for Comfort Pro Max, Eurofoam don't introduce latest in town. That na Euro Elite. This one, they sleep jolly meant no get equal. Eurofoam get quality pillows and sheetings. Eurofoam shop yakpa everywhere for Bodo Nigeria. Eurofoam, sleep the way it's supposed.
Has anyone told you you can talk about your business on radio for just
20,000 naira?
Get a chance to talk your business for 25 minutes on The Entrepreneur. Mondays to Fridays, 3 p.m. on Eagles 102.3 FM, Abuja. For more inquiries, call 090-9984-4433. 090-9984-4433. Hurry now.
My My country people, who work suppose enjoy you after all the hustle. You not suppose take your comfort play to fit sleep the way it suppose be. Make you go grab your Eurofoam mattress. Make you forget your full comfort. Whether na Euro Spring, Euro Orthopedic, abi semi-orthopedic, Diamond and Diamond Plus. And for Comfort Pro Max, Eurofoam don introduce latest in town. That na Euro Elite. This one they sleep jolly meant no get equal. Eurofoam get quality pillows and sheetings. Eurofoam shop yakpa everywhere for Bodo Nigeria. Eurofoam, sleep the way it's supposed to be.
Eagles 102.3 Abuja.
My people, the thing where they happen for my area,
Do you think I will now find out that you have contract to bring fresh girls?
I brought you from the gutters. Who gave you all the connects? MDG who? Without me, you would have been nobody. But I
Join Media Coalition and Awareness to Halt Human Trafficking, MICAT, on I Wish I Knew radio drama every Saturday at 10 a.m. Let us join hands and kick human trafficking out of our communities. I Wish I Knew radio drama, brought to you by MICAT in partnership with the National Agency for Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, and funded by the Embassy of Denmark in Nigeria.
No offense to the commercials. It's just that we want to see other audio.
Eagles 102.3.
All right, we are back. Thank you so much for staying with us. And if you're just joining us, this is Eagles Outlook, live on Eagles FM 102.3 Abuja. And together with Dr. Yushua Liu, who is an economist, we are assessing President Bola Tinubu's New Year message to Nigerians. And we're actually looking at different, indices or issues that the president, actually highlighted. And no doubt, there are key takeaways, from the president's New Year message. His optimism about a positive economic outlook for 2025. You also talk about, the stock market growth that is being anticipated, and also foreign investment surge, reducing inflation and boosting local production was actually where we stopped the conversation before we embarked on that, commercial timeout. And now, establishment of a national credit guarantee company, achieving a $1 trillion economy. The youth empowerment through Youth Confab, collaboration with states on key national, initiatives, and also encouragement for unity and shared national goals, among other things, the president actually highlighted on January 1, 2025. And for Dr. Yusuf Aliyu, reducing inflation from 34.6% to 15% is
Not realistic.
Not realistic. All right. Okay. So you can actually be part of a conversation this morning by calling us on 090-8766-8888 or 090-7353-0044. You can send a voice note or a message to the WhatsApp portal on 090-9705-4450. Call in and let's hear from you what your thoughts are. And please, when you call in, remain civil and avoid the use of vulgar or obscene language. Maintain at most 2 minutes or even less so we can accommodate diverse views on the show this morning. You must also turn down the volume of your radio set so we can hear ourselves, very clearly. All right, coming back to you now, Yusuf Aliyu. Having talked about inflation reduction, and I think a summary of what you said on this particular point is the fact that increasing, interest rate or raising MPR by way of taming inflation, is no longer.
You are increasing cost of borrowing.
All right.
And by increasing, you are increasing cost of production.
Okay. So it's a no.
And by increasing, you are increasing inflation.
All right. But we are hoping truly, because I know you've been heavy on this
MPR must be halted.
All right.
That is one.
Okay.
If you are to achieve 15% inflation, what invariably that one is telling you, the PMS pump price will also reduce by the same percentage.
Okay.
The food items in the market, a bag of rice, will reduce by that difference between 34.6 and then 15%. You subtract, you take the monetary value, and that is what we are expecting goods to be. That is reducing.
You know, we're talking about PMS
Yes.
fuel. We Nigerians won't really have to pay through their nose this year. Looking at the coming on board of the Warri refinery, the Port Harcourt.
That
and
is
we
a
also
very
have the
good.
Dangote
That's a very
refinery.
good. That's a very good signal. And I congratulate NNPC, and I want them to sustain. For us to have Warri refinery to start production, it shows that the PIA has started working, and that is the reform that Mr. President is trying to bring.
Okay.
Because now there is competition. If NNPC is having Warri to work, Port Harcourt refinery to work, along with Dangote, and they'll be competing in the source of their raw materials. They will also be competing in setting prices
Okay.
to attract more buyers for profit gain. So it's a good indicator.
All right, but now we understand that NNPCL may cut crude supply to Dangote.
That is
plant.
part of the competition. Dangote, in the first instance, has not started, did not buy crude oil from when he started purchases. He purchased outside Nigerian shores, and nothing stopped him. That's why in a perfect monopoly, there is free entry and free exit. That's is a condition.
Okay.
Do you understand?
So this is-
but
this is-
only,
this
but
is
only
not-
in certain cases,
Right.
there should be regulation and intervention to protect citizens. Do you understand?
Right.
Yes, but that is the behavior of a competitive market, and that is just the definition of what is called PIA, Petroleum Industry Act, to allow you to go and buy your product from anywhere at any price, but you control your production and then you regulate the price.
All right. Okay, talking about, let's do a little bit of comparative analysis. From the international front, Singapore's economic success can be attributed to its business-friendly environment, low corruption, and highly developed infrastructure. Take a look at Rwanda as well, where the economic transformation has been driven largely by its focus on innovation, technology, and entrepreneurship. And in South Africa, the economic challenges are similar to Nigeria's, with high unemployment and inequality. However, South Africa has implemented policies to promote economic inclusion and address historical inequalities. Now, Ghana's economic growth has been driven by its oil and gas sector, as well as its agricultural sector. Ethiopia's economic transformation has been driven by its focus on infrastructure development, industrialization, and agriculture. So somehow, whether you like it or not, it still revolves, around agriculture, getting it right in the agriculture sector. But looking at the oil and gas sector now, a number of economists, just like you, they've said that it's about time we look away, from the oil and gas sector.
I am not part of that school of thought.
Okay.
I cannot.
Why not?
Good, because every nation has specialization.
Okay.
Every nation has an opportunity. Can you go and tell Saudi Arabia to keep their eyes away from oil and gas? Who told you? The only thing is that we should put emphasis on other sectors, but we cannot keep our eyes away from oil and gas. Who told you the use of gas is only for transportation purposes? Research will be going on. Technical knowledge will come and now decide what gas is to be used apart from what it conventionally used to be. The same thing applies to to crude oil. Because initially when crude oil was discovered, nobody thought that there is going to be kerosene out of it. It's a research that showed that. So in any point in time, any commodity that God has given you, it has purpose, and that purpose should not be undermined. The only thing is that Nigeria has an advantage more than any country, in fact, in the world, because if you mention agriculture, you can name all type of crops that can grow in Nigeria. So it depends on your priority. If you are to benefit, if you are to grow coconut, you have to invest and bring expert and do research and then sustain it. If you want to use oil and gas, there is potential market for it worldwide, and tomorrow there is going to be use for that same product for another different thing. So I used to wonder when people are saying we should keep out our eyes from oil and gas. They are just deceiving us to keep away from our potentials. Oil and gas is a potential commodity that can transport. It has transformed the entire world. and it will continue to transport the entire world.
Okay.
God has not given us crude oil for no reason, that we can keep our eyes from it.
All right. Ogenemano Austin from Adona, Nasarawa State said, the president, if to be taken seriously, is to do more in agriculture. Let agriculture be second to none in the economy. Let the country embark on mechanized farming, and let Nigeria be an agricultural hub in West Africa, by extension, Africa. We should begin to export food. Let agriculture be the mainstay of the economy, not oil. Ogenemano Austin from Adona, Nasarawa State says, thank you so much. But my guest here has been able to make us understand that there's been a lot of, food export going on. And that's because of, the free fall of the Naira that, we've recorded
that
in
is
recent times.
floating of the exchange rate. That is the most critical that has disturbed everything in Nigeria. And without checking the excesses of that market, there is no theory that you say Naira should be floating for a very, even US dollars has been assisted on several occasions just to make sure that dollars go around the world. We cannot be at a disadvantage. Do you understand?
Right.
Critically. But if we can reduce our import bills, that is good for our foreign exchange. If we can attract foreign investors, it's also good. But what is more important is to keep the domestic investors, not to frustrate them to go out of business and then calling others to come in.
Okay. All right. Sustainability is indeed very important. Beyond reeling out these measures or policies, how sustainable are these policies? And then, what exactly should be done, or what should be implemented, by way of reform or team to ensure sustainability of these economic reforms and even policies, right? Talking about a stronger or having a stronger currency or Naira, what exactly, are the implications, right, of a stronger Naira for Nigerian businesses and citizens? And before you share your thoughts on that, for those of you who are just joining us, we are assessing President Bola Tinubu's New Year message, and you can be part of the conversation by calling us on 090-8766-8888 or 090-7353-0044. This message right here on the WhatsApp portal says, government should guide against policy somersaults so that all our hopes, goals and aspirations will come to fruition. Rule of laws must always and duly, be observed and adhered to. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. God bless Eagles FM. Thank you very much, Sanusi from Suleja. Good morning to you and thank you. So, let's hear from you.
Stronger currency is when you are strong. You need to have strong production. And I'm happy in the president's speech he emphasized on food production. That food production is what can sustain this large population. We need to know, Mr. President need to know, Mr. President need to be aware that there is need for head count. Until you know the demographic structure of your population, you understand the type of food you grow.
We understand the NPC would be doing that, this year, but we don't know if it's going to be within the first quarter or the second.
A convenient time must be announced, and also Nigerians must be prepared. The head count will allow government to know the demographic needs of each and every category.
Okay.
Omofe may not be a fan of rice. And definitely, if 1 million of Omofe they don't like rice, then what the demography should show the kind of food, and that will now guide production. Do you understand?
Right.
Because excess. Why is that? Food prices continue to go up, and we have weak Naira. It's because of our import bills. These import bills are discouraging Naira to appreciate, and the greatest mistake done, which is about to be corrected, is importing PMS while we have the capacity to produce.
Right.
These are some of the things that has to be corrected, and I'm happy. Dangote with 650,000 capacity is coming. Wari 125,000 capacity. Port Harcourt with above 200 is also coming back. Then producing different categories of product to be used by us. We can earn more money through our neighbors. The countries that will block our borders, that want to buy our product, we can sell to them. We can have additional value for our Naira. And that is the only way when the value, the terms of trade is always in your favor.
All right.
But if it is against us, definitely our naira will be depreciating.
All right, to wrap up the conversation now, time is really not our friend, and the truth is we've really not been able to touch on all the issues, the key points that the president, highlighted in the course of his New Year message. But achieving a $1 trillion economy, isn't that too ambitious?
It's not ambitious. It's not ambitious. It is realistic. In the next 6 years, we have to reach $1 trillion economy. But the one thing I will add to Mr. President is that once you are projecting that kind of dream for a nation, you also have to project the per capita income of the population when the economy reach $1 trillion economy. Then what is going to be the per capita? That is what Omofe will be, what I will be, what the listener will be. That projection must go in tandem, and that is what will bring collective prosperity for the economy and the citizen at the same time. And it's a target. You check all the indices that will increase people's consumption, that will not devoid people from having their powers in the market. All these things has to be considered, not just merely recording 42 billion in foreign reserve and zero reserve for 80% of citizens. Do you understand?
Right.
These are very good target.
Okay. Well, our fingers are indeed crossed, to see how things would, unfold or even pan out for Nigerians in the days to come. And as to whether or not Nigerians will smile in the weeks or the months to come, time will tell. But we just have to leave the conversation here. Dr. Yusha Aliyu, it's always a pleasure, discussing Nigeria with you.
Thank you very much.
Starting the year with you is actually on a good note. And we're going to be monitoring the progression of events, and subsequently we'll call on you to come analyze issues even as they unfold.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and Happy New Year to you once again.
Thank you.
To those of you who actually listened, to those who missed their calls because of the analysis in the studios, apologies. To those of you who sent in messages, thank you so much for spending part of your time with us. Best believe we don't take it for granted. We're indeed hoping for the best this year. My name is Omo Ifepiso Semere, and I would like to state that the views expressed on the show this morning were not influenced by Eagles FM 102.3 Abuja. I'll be back in a bit with the business news.
Eagles 102.3 Abuja.
This is Eagles 102.3 News, your number one radio experience you can count on.
Here is the business news. The federal government has taken delivery of the first batch of locally assembled compressed natural gas (CNG) buses, marking the beginning of their deployment for airport shuttle services across Nigeria. This disclosure was made in a statement on Wednesday. The buses were received at the Murtala Mohammed Airport in Lagos by officials of the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria, led by its managing director, Olubunmi Kuku. Speaking during the unveiling at the Lagos Airport, the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Management, Festus Keyamo, said the deployment was in line with the directive of President Bola Tinubu. And now the Asian Development Bank and the World Trade Organization Secretariat have jointly launched the Trade in Critical Minerals database to enhance transparency in the trade of critical minerals, crucial for the clean energy transition. Unveiled on November 20th at the COP29 Climate Change Conference in Baku, the TCM database provides policymakers, researchers, and stakeholders with critical insights into trade flows, tariffs, and policies related to 250 essential minerals and their value chains. This new resource addresses the increasing global demand for minerals like lithium, cobalt, and rare earth elements, which are pivotal in manufacturing batteries, wind turbines, and electric vehicles. The Federal Ministry of Works, under the leadership of the Minister of Work, David Umahi, has proposed 365.44 billion naira to fund the construction of new road projects and purchase of operational vehicles. However, earlier in the year, Umahi made a public announcement not to include new road projects in the 2025 budget. The proposed 365.44 billion naira is 36.54% of the 1.013 trillion naira proposed sum to fund the construction of 468 roads and highways across the country. Umahi said the ministry would channel its attention on completing several ongoing and abandoned projects in Nigeria instead of new ones. The National Association of Telecoms Subscribers has rejected the proposed increase in telecommunication tariffs, describing the plan as insensitive and a further burden on consumers already grappling with economic hardship. The decision to reject the hike came after an emergency meeting held on Wednesday, where the association issued a communique outlining their objections. The backlash follows signs that the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC, may approve the tariff increase requested by telecom operators. And finally, the World Bank has invested $17 billion of the $51 billion provided by multilateral institutions to support low and middle income countries facing a growing debt crisis. The lender said the COVID-19 pandemic exacerbated the debt burdens of developing nations, and the subsequent rise in global interest rate has made it even harder for many to recover. The Global Bank made this disclosure in its report titled 2024 Key Development Challenges in 9 Charts: How the World is Off Track to Reduce Poverty, was the link posted on its official X account on Monday. The World Bank revealed that by the end of 2023, the total external debt owed by low and middle income countries had reached a record $8.8 trillion, an 8% increase from 2020. And that is the news. I am Omohefe Peace Osemere. Good morning.
Thanks for listening. Join us again for more updates on Eagles 102.3 Abuja. The vibe is about to be lit.